Hi, I'm Henry Solomon, or P429. Um, this is my Linux and computer YouTube channel. This will be my first video on PopOS Cosmic Desktop. I just recently installed it on some bare metal, a 2009 Toshiba laptop to be specific. So far, I've got Wi-Fi set up. I have it installed. The installation was about the same as other versions of PopOS. You've probably seen it by now. But I want to talk about my personal experience with it. How I've been setting it up to be a little bit more like my own. So let's just do that now. One thing that I do recommend, the PopOS Cosmic Desktop is nice, but it is based off of GNOME 3. And I have tried out Fedora 34 using GNOME 40 and Arch using GNOME 40, and they're very good. GNOME 40, just a great desktop environment. So if you're thinking you want a good desktop environment, and you like Cosmic, I feel like GNOME 40 is a little bit better, especially if you have a good trackpad. Trackpads, there are a lot of good gestures for the trackpad, similar to Windows gestures. So if you're really into that, I guess you could do that. But I would personally use Fedora 34, but that's just because I personally don't like the APT or Ubuntu. Ubuntu just, I don't really like them. I'll talk about that later. So this is the PopOS Cosmic Desktop. When I installed it, after I changed the wallpaper to this, which came out of the box, it did have the dock extending to the edges, but it was centered, and I didn't really like how it was a waste of screen real estate, so I did get rid of that. We have the Workspaces button, which is dynamic, so if I were to have a window open here, like a terminal, I could go into Workspaces and drag it over here, and it would go into there. It would add another desktop, and ours would be empty. And if I were to go into that desktop, our current desktop, since it's not being used, would be used. I also have it auto-hiding when an app is nearby, and it also has the tiling window manager setting activated. I actually am not quite a fan of that, not having a window manager. It isn't quite what I've always used. Let's see if I can find... let's install Fish and NeoFetch to see if they recognize this as GNOME or other such things, you know. Alright, so this is based off of Ubuntu, as all PopOS distributions have been. So it does use the APT package manager, it does have a good wide variety of applications, but it's not nearly as good as the Pacman or Snaps or certain other package managers. Although it does have a good selection of apps, the AUR, Arch User Repository, is just so much bigger. It's really uncomparable. It doesn't make sense that anyone would ever use this because of the APT package manager. Now I could also go into Fish, CHSH-S, -S, and then change this to Fish. and now put in my root password, which I have set to a good password that I won't be revealing. That's interesting. Let's go to cat/Etsy/shells. That's not right. Yes, so it does have fish. I don't know why it didn't work there. Maybe I have to do user bin. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, so, kind of hard to type with one hand. I personally use Arch Labs Linux on my personal computer. Alright, so, yeah, so I use fish as well. It does, in fact, work with basic key commands from most tiling window managers, and I did set it up so that it has my own custom key command that doesn't seem to be working, super enter, which is usually the default on most tiling window managers or other window managers to open the terminal other than Control-Alt-T. CHSH didn't really work, did it? Let's go CHSH-S. No. See, the reason I really like fish is because it has that syntax highlighting. But if I set it to fish, and then I enter my root password, let's see if this finally works. That's what I don't quite like about a lot of these distros is that they don't always have the consistency that I'd like. I mean, that usually works, but it doesn't seem to be working now. I mean, I don't know why. So I guess we're just not going to have that work today. But one thing I have noticed is that the tiling window manager tends to stack windows on top of each other. So let's see if I can open a few windows. Nope, not working. Also, PopOS. One thing that I really don't like is that it doesn't have a lot of really good key commands that a lot of other distributions have. Super enter, no, doesn't have anything like that. Control-Alt-T, no. It's really a graphical user interface centric interaction. Keyboard is not as into it as integrated as I'd like. Let's do an update though. Nope. Control-Shift-Q does not close the window. But this Cosmic Desktop, it has a lot of customizability features that I do like, but it doesn't have all of them. I'd like to be able to customize what goes up here a lot more than I can right now. We've got these buttons. I can choose to combine these or to leave one out, but it just doesn't let me. It doesn't really want me to for some reason. But what I can do is install something like Sway, a tiling window manager, and then, which is a really lightweight thing. I actually might want to put on HTOP to this. I'll be back when, no, this will be a quick install. Yeah, we don't need that. Alright, 98, there we go. Alright, and I can also install HTOP, and I've heard people say that HTOP, you might as well use top instead of HTOP because it's not as heavy or anything like that, which is so stupid. No, just no. HTOP gives you so much more information, and it's in a much friendlier way. So I have 2 cores on this computer. I have 2.9 gigabytes of memory. I have a 4 gigabyte swap file, which came out of the box from Pop, which I do like. It does have a swap partition, though, and not a swap file, I believe. I'm not sure about that, but, you know, that's still pretty bad. And this isn't the best spec'd out computer, but I've run KDE on Arch Linux on this, and it's definitely been really, really good, really fast. It hasn't used too much, so I'm gonna do a quick reboot, and I'll be right back with the Sway. All right, so got this up. Restarting takes a minute on this computer for some reason. But you know, you win some, you lose some. All right, let's see how fast this reboot is after, you know, recent. I don't know. One thing I really like about tiling window managers is how fast they are. They're really lightweight, very resource efficient. Sway is personally my favorite. It uses, it's a very similar, it's pretty much i3 window manager with Wayland protocols as the display manager. Not display manager, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't use x.org, doesn't use x11, which has been the standard for a long time, but it's not really as good as people say. So this is a pretty slow boot. I don't know what's taken it so long. It hasn't even gotten to the screen where it starts up all the I don't think it's gotten to the part where it starts up the display manager and all of the programs that it boots by default out of the box. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna enter my password, and let's see if I can. It's interesting. It doesn't have this settings icon right there that usually has to boot into Sway, which is strange. I don't quite know why it doesn't do that, but, you know, Sway, just really great window manager. I just wanted to show how it doesn't really give you that option. And it's still a very slow operating system. Alright, so now it's running Fish by default out of the box. I do like that. I can do sudo apt u, and then I have this saved in my history. Fish lets me autocomplete it. Sudo apt update, which will update all the programs, upgrade, also updating some stuff, and then sudo apt auto remove to delete and remove some unneeded software. I'm just gonna enter my password, and so you can see it's running through update, and once it was completed, then it went into upgraded, but it's run as separate commands, so it'll give you sudo apt list upgradable to see the upgrades, but then it'll go straight into the upgrade part of the command, or the 3 commands really. So it's fetching all the upgrades. This taskbar shows how far along the upgrade is, and then it'll give a sudo apt auto remove as soon as that's done to remove anything that isn't needed. And we'll see how many things are removed after the auto remove is done. So I did do an update yesterday. Actually, quite a few updates. 75 packages were upgraded, which which means that, yeah, so 0 were removed from the auto remove, which comes last. And which is a good thing that nothing's being removed, not a bad thing. It's not a good thing, but you know. So out of the box, let's see what apps it comes with. I'm going to assume that there's the G apps. So yes, we have a calculator, calendar, contacts, files, which is just Nautilus, so you can install Nautilus on pretty much anything. Firefox, settings, the Pop Shop, which is, so the Pop Shop is something that's very special to the PopOS. Very, very useful utility there. It's got a really good selection. So then we have the Office Suite. This is LibreOffice, which is a great choice. HTOP, which I installed. Geary, which came out of the box. We also have Foot and Foot Server, which are two different terminal emulators. We have Weather, Text Editor, which I'm not sure what it is. It might be Gedit. Is that Gedit? Not sure what this is. I think that's Gedit. Or maybe that's not a thing and I'm blanking. Terminal, which I'm not sure what terminal app it is, but it's not a very good one, not a very bad one. Then we have the system. Language support, startup application, system monitor, which is similar to HTOP, power statistics, passwords, and our disk apps. I'm going to assume those are G-parted because Cosmic is based off of GNOME 3.36. Then we have some other stuff, USB flasher, character map, Eddy, text info, image viewer, document viewer, fonts, archive manager, and extensions. These are all for customization of the desktop or the operating system. We also have screenshot, video, show applications, document scanner, show workplace, show launcher, and help. I feel like those are just in the application so that they can be down here, which is a smart thing to add. But I feel like just writing the programs and not having it here might be a little less confusing. So I'm going to go to the settings app. I'm going to see what version of GNOME and what Linux kernel this is at. So not a too fast startup, but definitely not too slow considering that this is probably the slowest computer anybody here has ever seen. So my device name, the ground, we have the memory here. We have the Core 2 Duo CPU, 1.83 gigahertz, Intel graphics, and 160 gigabyte disk capacity. The OS is PopOS 21.04, so this is the newest version. The OS type is 64-bit, and it is running on GNOME 3.38.5. Let's see if it focuses in on that. Yeah, and then it's running the x11x.org protocol system. So yeah, it's just GNOME with a dock and certain features that make it a little nicer. I do think that if you're thinking of getting PopOS with either this or GNOME, definitely get this. I say it's for the terminal. And my favorite thing is definitely this tiling window manager situation. It's not as good as i3 or Sway or Xmonad or any of those big window managers, but it definitely is a lot better than having a floater system. I think I can toggle that with Super Y, and then I can drag it around as a floater, and then Super Y to bring it back, and then it just pops into place. It's got these gaps, which I like. It has that when I open up everything else. So if I were to open up, see, that's something I don't like about this. It's a dynamic tiling window manager, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's also not, it's certainly not the best thing. I like it just straight up like I have on my Arch desktop. Yes, it is 420. I have my Dell XPS keyboard set up with all the usual key commands. I actually changed the kill from Control-Shift-Q that comes out of the box this way to Super Enter. To Control-Shift-K. My browser is also similar to this situation. I'm just showing you what I usually like. I have Control Q, and then it opens up Tablis on top of the Qt browser, which is my favorite thing. It's very Vim-like, so you can do the colon and then Q or WQ. Either way works. I'm going to quit out of this. I love Vim. Vim is my text editor of choice. I'll do that in another video. So this is Firefox out of the box. This is what so if I were to open up a terminal next to it, see that, and then if I were to keep going with that, so it's not the fastest system, but I did try it on a live environment on my main computer. I just thought that bare metal installation would be a lot better, more accurate of what you'd normally get. It does have a hot corner for workspaces that you can enable, which I did, of course. Here's the Nautilus files. Nautilus is a good graphical file system, or not file system, file manager. But I personally like to do everything from the command line. The command line is just so important, you guys. It is so important to having a good system. I mean, the command line, if you don't get used to the command line, nothing bad will happen, but, the command line is just the most useful tool on the system. I can navigate through any of my files, or install any software, or remove any software, or do any updates, all from the command line, which makes my two most used apps on this Qt browser and my terminal emulator of choice, which I will talk about in a later video, but it's Kitty. Really great emulator. I use Fish with the Starship command prompt. Yes, I do have that running instead of... This is my Starship prompt, and this is my auto start image that I have in ASCII. As reference to the classic 80s book that is, what's it called? I'm reading it now. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Just a real great operating system in general. Alright, so I'm gonna power this system on. Alright, so my experience with PopOS, it's a great beginner distro if you have a decent computer, but if you're using a really old computer, I still recommend something lighter, maybe just base Debian, or maybe Arch. Arch, just my favorite distro choice, but don't do it if you're a beginner. Just don't do it. If you want an installation guide, I highly recommend DistroTube DT. Really great YouTuber. I'll tag him in the description, I guess. Alright, so I'll be back, I guess.